The other thing I would say about the media, and I think this doesn't really go to your question about liberal, or does the president get a break? Did George Bush get beat up on? I know that's a deep, embedded perception, and I know the kinds of stories, because I hear about it from people who used to work in the Bush White House all the time. Well, if we did this, you can't imagine what the press coverage would be. Well, yeah, probably I can. And why does it seem different? Well, people remember things differently. People have different perceptions. Part of that is filtered through their own partisan sense. If you don't like somebody and someone's not as tough as you are, you don't feel they're tough enough. And if you like somebody and someone's tough, you feel like they're being too tough because you like them. You know, so those perceptions and that partisan division in our country tends to color a little bit of the way we perceive the media. And the other thing is, look, when it was Walter Cronkite and David Brinkley and John Chancellor, that was it. 3. And your morning newspaper. And if you were lucky enough, your afternoon newspaper. That was it. Okay, you didn't have 3 cables and 3 business channels slicing and dicing everything across the spectrum for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you look at all the cables now, more and more of those 24-hour news channels don't actually broadcast news. They broadcast commentary about the news. I mean, basically the 24-hour news spectrum, all 3, CNN, Fox, and MSNBC are down to about 6 hours a day of actual news, maybe less. You know, there are a lot of personality-driven shows. So 6 out of 24 or 4 out of 24, that shows you what actually sells and gets a certain amount of ratings in the cable world. And the attention span of the country is differently. I used to tell people at Fox, the youngsters who would complain about Brit Hume, who was a great boss, someone who has a long history here in New Hampshire. They're like, oh, Brit Hume, he doesn't know anything. He's an old doddering old fool. I'm like, hey, first of all, none of that's true. And second of all, slow your roll, because when Brit Hume covered the White House for ABC as the chief White House correspondent, 19 million Americans watched him. 19 million people watched each of the network broadcasts. At CBS, we're very happy we get 6 million. Now, that's 19 million in a country of about 220 million, as compared to 6.5 million at CBS now in a country of 320. Our authority as a network is diminishing because fewer and fewer people are watching the evening news at 6:30. It's not the blue glowing campfire it used to be. When I grew up and watched Walter Cronkite, it was the blue glowing campfire. We all warmed our hands around the campfire of news at 6:30. We don't do that anymore. You know, ask anyone in the web industry, when are the times people read the web? When they go to work. 9 to 10. Optimal time to read the web. And then they take a break, they actually do some work, and then they go to lunch, and then 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. They read the web a lot. And then they go home at 5, and maybe they'll read at 9, you know? Well, when people are consuming news like that and on their BlackBerries and everything else, the ability of any voice or any sort of this dispassionate arbiter is much harder to compete. It's a much more savage environment as a marketing component. And like I said, it's a very complex subject. I probably have only partially addressed it, and that's the best I can do.